Hi, welcome back to my channel. I am here to share with you guys today how we homeschooled preschool. A lot of people have requested this video, but the honest truth is that I don't really homeschool preschool. We do not have a structured curriculum for preschool, but I do have quite a few tips on what we do use, the habits that we desire to form, the things that we want to implement in these formative early years of our child's education. So today I would like to share those with you. I also have another video on my channel of some fun activities that I love to do with our preschoolers. So if you want to check that video, I will link it above. My husband and I were both homeschooled, and so early on in our parenting, we knew that we wanted to homeschool our own children. So of course, it was easy for me, the researcher that I am, to start reading and studying up on all the different homeschool philosophies and methods and whatnot, and thinking that I can make a child prodigy with all of my teaching and input I can give her. She's going to become this brilliant genius of a child, and she'll be an early reader, and she'll be a math genius by the time she's 5. Well, sometimes that happens, but just as more and more children came along, I was pregnant or had a toddler or a nursing infant, every single year of homeschool, I realized that, number one, I did not have the time and the resources to overstructure our day. And number three, as I started studying different methods and philosophies, I realized that the one that resonated with me the most was the Charlotte Mason philosophy of education, and the classical model as well, that implement a lighter load in the early years, not as much rigor. And it really resonated with me that those really establish a connection and a relationship of parent to student, to enjoy the wonder and the natural creativity that children have at that age, just like Rudyard Kipling says, that insatiable curiosity. And I think we as mamas can just think like our children are these little dry sponges, and they'll just soak up everything we give them, and that's true. But slowly building those habits is so much more beneficial than cramming that information down their throats when they're young. And I just found so much blessing as the years went on to see that blossom and develop into these beautiful habits in our older children that they have now. I really think because those rails were laid down early, we took the formative years slowly and implemented some foundational character habits and traits. And so I just want to share that with you today as we discuss homeschooling in the preschool years. This is not the time to necessarily fill their little minds with all of the knowledge, but this is a time to establish connection, relationship with learning, with you as their mama teacher or dada teacher. And it's a beautiful time for that. I did question the method over the years. I found myself doubting it. I found myself doubting myself. I even doubted my children. But it has become evident more and more as we've had each child come through that early season that it is a gift to wait. It is a gift to teach reading when the child is ready, math when the child is ready, developmentally, and I have just seemed to be such a blessing. So I wanted to share with you a little bit about what we do in the preschool years. For those of you that have asked me, this will probably be my final homeschool video about how we homeschool, and I just wanted to wrap it up with these early years. As important as habits are in the formation of character, I don't really discuss that in this video or on my blog because I feel like that needs a different video and post, but I do want to stress the importance of instilling obedience in our children in these formative years. That is definitely a habit that we focus on, and I forgot to mention that. I feel kind of bad about that because I was focusing just primarily on kind of the educational side of what we do with our children, but instilling habits of obedience are very, very important to our children, as well as all the other things that I'm going to talk about in this video. Along these same lines, memorization is something that we do want to incorporate, and it's the only thing I'm intentionally planning and preparing for in this age. Getting scripture into their hearts and minds is the most valuable thing I can pass on to them. So we will read them some poetry if they're interested, once a day. Over the course of a week, they can have a whole poem memorized, and also we work on one scripture verse at a time. Quality picture books and literature are a fun way that we introduce our children to language, new worlds and people, ideas and concepts. But at this age, we don't require any narrations. We just let them ask questions of the story, or we ask them some questions, and we just discuss what we're reading about and really enjoy this time together. Normally this happens before naps or before bed, or when they're just needing a little extra cuddle. Charlotte Mason in Volume 1 says, "The consideration of outdoor life in developing a method of education comes second in order, because my object is to show that the chief function of the child, his business in the world during the first 6 or 7 years of his life, is to find out all he can about whatever comes under his notice, by means of his 5 senses, that he has an insatiable appetite for knowledge got in this way." Every time I am in nature with our children, I have a sense that this is where we belong, especially having 7 energetic boys in the house together homeschooling. It can become smothering if we just don't balance our indoor play with time in nature, even just a little walk around the block or a nature scavenger hunt in our yard. The boys can be entertained outside with dirt and a stick for hours, creating their own imaginary world of fun. We also desire them to gain a practical knowledge of life while living in their own family culture, because education is an atmosphere. So they learn counting while unloading the dishwasher and setting the table. We learn about measurements and weights while they help me bake something special. Likewise, when I am doing anything, I explain to them the why and how of what I'm doing, and this makes learning for them a natural part of their environment and interests. Our children love to draw, and I try to facilitate them learning good handwriting skills by drawing. This begins at a young age, just getting practice with their fine motor skills of hand to pencil, pencil to paper. And I might have them trace letters on a whiteboard or in cornmeal. We talk about letters with alphabet magnets on the fridge, but I don't really bring any workbooks out unless they're really interested, and that usually happens when they see their older siblings working at the table and they want to join in as well. Over the years, we have honed in on what toys we see our children interacting with positively, and we try to keep the amount manageable, but this can prove challenging with a large family. But we have found it to be so helpful to limit their overwhelm. Open-ended toys and a space for creative, imaginative play can incite hours of engagement. But a lot of toys spread out all over the floor detracts them from engaging with them. Place for everything with a limited amount can really stimulate creativity and encourages them to use their imaginations and gives them opportunities to learn resourcefulness, strategizing, and so many other life skills. There are so many benefits to sensory play, which I won't get into in this video, but I do try to do a couple of more of these structured activities a couple times a week, because it gives me an opportunity to have some fun engagement with them and also allows them some free, calming, relaxing fun to do while I'm working with the other students. So not only does it benefit them in many different ways, but it also benefits me as well. They can work independently on these little activities while I am doing something else. I have seen my little guy calm down after having a rough morning if he's had about 30 minutes of engagement with some sensory activities. And if you want to look up some more information on benefits, there's lots. The Montessori method speaks to this, and although I don't follow her methodology and philosophy fully, I have seen how much this type of activity and engagement benefits my children's learning and also just their development.